we're acknowledging that there is a current in life. We're acknowledging that every one of us has been tamed in some way. We are asking the question, who were you before the world told you who you're supposed to be? Right? That's what we're doing, because we acknowledge there is current, and we want to be people who fight the current. So, the question of the day, how do we know if we're drifting in life? So that's what we're here to talk about.
That's it.
This is it.
That's it. And I think it is the right first question, John. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think when I think about in my life, the moments where I have really been the most scared, the moments I've had most anxiety and stress in my life, the moments where I just don't feel like I really have much purpose.
Yeah.
I'm just comfortably numb and confused. Those are the moments that truly I have drifted for probably quite some time.
Yeah.
And I think as I think about the story, you and I both love adventure.
We love adventure. And that's what this is about, right?
It's about adventure.
Even what you're talking about, you're presenting the clarity to people of what it looks like to be tamed, right?
Correct.
That's a taming. You're talking about, drifting. You're a little bit unaware of what's going on around you. You're focused in on this thing. And that's what we're here. This is what this podcast is about what it looks like to be tamed, and how we can become untamed men, right? And so we love adventure.
We love adventure.
It's at the heart of it, because
that's
adventure
the heartbeat of it, right?
Allows us to uncover those areas that we've tamed ourselves in. And I know you've got a story or something, because I can see it in your eyes. And
I want to get all excited. It's like brewing up inside of me.
I want to hear it.
So at the end of the day, as we, and I think those that are with us in this beautiful tribe, the few that are with us, this untaming few, we're inviting you into this beautiful story, into this beautiful adventure, and you also have an adventurous heart. When I think of scuba diving, and I want to do more scuba diving in the near future,
I'm with you, brother.
With the men that are with us.
If the men are going to come, if the few are going to come with us, they need to get their scuba licenses
from
now.
Paragliding to scuba diving,
whitewater
you name it, whitewater rafting, surfing.
Come on.
So when I think about scuba diving, there's this story that I love, and I'll just kind of wrap it up in a few minutes. But it's like, we're in this scuba dive. We're in Cozumel.
All right.
And Cozumel has great diving because there's these drift dives that you take in Cozumel. So in Cozumel,
the current runs pretty strong.
The current, envision you're on one of those conveyor belts at the airport, and you're down 100 feet into the beauty of the sea. So we're scuba diving, but before we even get down, the beginning part of the story, which really matters in this moment, is this. There's a guy that's diving with us. There's 12 on this dive. And we left the shore and we're headed out. He's got all the fancy gadgets. So he's got the watch,
I know
the
this
dive
guy.
watch. He's got the best regulator and jackets. His fins, his mask. He's decked out.
He's fit.
European guy. He is swagger in what he's got on in the way of gadgets, okay?
But isn't it always like that when you're there and you're kind of like, oh, how's this gonna go?
I had my eye on him
too decked out
because I was envious of his gadgets. However, what I was also noticing with this guy is he was like 3 sheets white as a ghost, and he seemed really nervous. So he's white, he's nervous, and he just doesn't look so good in the way of being sick.
Regardless of all the gadgets.
Regardless of all the shiny stuff, okay? So I saw the guy that was the second deck man come over to him, and he honestly said this. He said to him, gracefully and kindly, he said, "Bro, are you okay? You really don't look okay."
Like only a good leader can do, right?
Literally, just calm the dude out. Forget all the shiny gadgets. You really don't look okay. And the guy went on to say, it was kind of a speech that he had. He said, "I love scuba diving," because he was European and that was a terrible European accent. "But I love scuba diving, but I get seasick every time I go out." why is this guy not doing a shore dive? So anyway, so he's seasick, okay?
Yeah.
He's taken the Dramamine, he's got the patches, he's done all the preparation. But the dude is a hot mess when he gets to the ocean. So we're like maybe 1.5 miles out from the shore. And the guy is still really white and really seasick. So we roll off the back of the boat, okay? We're submerging down, okay? You equalize down at about 25, 30 feet, okay? And I can tell the dive master, he's got his eye on this dude. I mean, he's got his eye on this dude. So we get down 25, he equalizes. He's still pretty white, okay? He's not doing great. And we get down to about 65 or 70 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We're just beginning to transcend on this conveyor belt current.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Visibility, the fish are epic. Colors are insane.
Mm-hmm.
And we begin to transcend down, okay? And me and my dive partner, okay, Justin actually, good friend of mine, Justin and I are side by side. And we're maybe 3 minutes into this dive, okay? 65 feet down. And homeboy over here, he starts puking.
Underwater.
Underwater.
I mean, this is serious.
65, 70 feet down.
Yeah.
Homeboy biting on his regulator with chunks flying out of the regulator. Starts just throwing chunks in the depths of the sea. Fish are now coming from left, right, and center.
Yeah.
They're like, lunch! And they are cruising on this guy and attacking every piece of throw up that this guy has. And the guy is panicking, as rightfully so. Because he's got to stay down to bite on this regulator in the midst of all these chunks and all these fish attacking him.
Yeah, which you're actually trained to do when you go through scuba diving. It's like you cannot take that lifeline out of your mouth.
You can't, because water will come in. I mean, all kinds of negative things will happen, okay? So he's got to bite down and puke at the same time.
So this is a crisis in the middle of this entire thing.
It is a massive crisis.
You're drift diving, current's taking you, and now all the attention is on this guy puking his guts out.
Puking his guts out. And like maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 7 minutes have gone by, but there's quite a bit of time that's gone by.
Yeah.
So by the time, whatever it is, 7 or 8 minutes go by, and we finally let homeboy throw it all up.
Yeah.
Good on him. He still bit down his regulator. He did not ingest salt water, which is great.
Yeah.
But the dive master knows, I've got to go back up with homeboy. Okay, this guy is done.
Yeah.
He is KO'd, tap out on the mat. This guy is done, okay? The UFC fight, they called it. It's done, okay?
Yeah.
So we all have to go back up, okay? And as we go back up, okay, again, only about 7 or 8 minutes has happened. We come back up and we realize, holy crap.
Yeah.
We have drifted so far. Like, it was insane within those 7 minutes of just allowing this drift to happen, how far we have drifted from the waypoint of that buoy.
Yeah.
We had drifted so far.
Yeah.
And the dive master even had to say, we've got to recalibrate ourselves. We have wasted so much oxygen, and we've got to figure out what we do from here moving forward.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we are. And there's just one more thing that I want to share in the story that I think really plays into this moment with guys. Some of the things that really did not happen with homeboy when multiple times they asked him, you just don't look great. Are you okay? And then about 5 minutes later, are you sure you're okay? And a third time before we dove off, are you sure you're okay?
Right.
I think for me in my life, there's times where guys have asked me that question.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know what it is right now about you, where you are in your life, but you're lacking of peace. You're lacking of true contentment right now in your life. You're lacking of even seeing some joy and happiness in your marriage and your family right now. Something seems off.
Yeah.
Are you sure, Mark, that you're okay right now?
Right. Right.
And I remember when I do this wrong and I respond in a way that just pretends that I'm okay and I'm not okay.
Yeah.
We've got to just come to a place, if we truly are going to be untamed and we truly are going to identify the drift of life, we come to a place of saying, it's okay for all of us to not be okay. It's okay for me to not be okay.
Yeah.
but it's not okay for me to stay that way.
Right.
And to share that with others that care about me, that are asking about me.
Yeah.
Are you okay? And also begin to have a simple dialogue with God and say, God, I just don't feel okay in my life right now because of this.
Right.
I feel like I'm off because of this.
Yeah, well, you're talking about, I mean, when I'm looking at this story here, and it's such a good illustration of what we go through, a metaphor for life, because in life, something happens, you know, like we set out on an adventure, and it's the scuba diving thing, the whole deal, but then there's a crisis or whatever it is, and we focus on that. And now that's natural, and oftentimes that crisis is something that we actually really have to pay attention to because it's critical. Yeah. You know, something is really going to fall apart, just like him underneath the water. He's got to remember that he's got to keep that regulator and he's got to keep the air flowing. But it is like that in life. When the crisis happens, you take your eyes off of the surrounding. You fixate on something, and that's when we lose sight of the current. And I think it's so important that right off the bat, your whole story started with, this is a drift dive. You guys acknowledge the current right off the bat. Yeah. And when you started talking about at the end there, you know, your circumstance where people have come to you at times in your life and said, hey, Mark, what's going on? What about this? And you said it's sometimes there's a failure to acknowledge, you know, the reality of what's actually happening, who you are, the situation you're putting yourself in, etc. But I think it's so critical in order for us to become untamed people so that our true essence comes to the surface and we live an unfettered life, a life that we were truly made for, that we've got to acknowledge that there's a current. I think fundamentally, we really struggle to just acknowledge that there's a current. Right. And I don't know why. But as soon as we acknowledge there's a current, we prepare for the current. We make plans for the current. Just like you said, this is a drift dive and we're drifting. And then we recognize when there's a crisis, as you're going through the crisis, you're starting to think in the back of your mind, I'm drifting. Where am I going? But when you're truly drifting in life, and that's what we're asking, how do you know? Is when you don't think there's anything around you that's influencing you in a way that you can't control, that is out of your control. And I just think I've seen so much pain caused by that. Yeah. When we think we're in control, we have everything under control, or even worse, Mark, even worse. If we think we are unable or cannot let those few people closest to us know that we're out of control, that's an even bigger problem. Yeah. Because that means we know we're out of control, and yet we refuse to admit it to somebody else so that we can get some help.
Why do you think it is, because I agree, why do you think it is that a lot of times we have a hard time recognizing that we're in a current, that we're in a drift? Mm-hmm. And I think that when we begin to kind of peel back some of the characteristics of what it is to be tame, mm-hmm. I think some of those, and let's share a few of them now, I think some of those characteristics begin to define some of the currents that we might not see, and we might be numb to, or kind of myopic in our viewpoint of them being there. And the one that comes to mind often for me is the word comfortable. Yeah. I think in the midst of comforts in life, when I truly am embracing comfort in life, and I might not wake up and say, I'm going to put on the shirt today that says, I embrace comfort. Yeah. Like we don't say that outwardly, but yet when we truly allow the comforts, we all want comfort. We all desire comfort. I do. We all want comfortable. We want a comfortable life for our family. We want to provide in a way that's comfortable for our family. We want the comforts of power and home and travel and leisure and cars and the shiny things. We want those comfortable things.
It's totally human, right?
It's totally human. But at the end of the day, I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, are we leaning into hard things? Yeah. Are we truly leaning into the things that press us into growth, that press us into identifying a current and saying, what does it look like for me to swim upstream? Yeah. And what is the upstream swim?
Well, and that is the current. You have to acknowledge it, right? And so how do we get in a place where that's happening? You said comfort is one of those things. We're just we're naturally inclined to want comfort. We're naturally inclined to want amenities. And then we're hyper inclined to want those things through the voices that we're hearing, right? Mm-hmm. And what are those voices? Well, some of them are adversarial, right? Some people actually want to keep you down or put you in a complacent situation, kind of tranquilize you in order that they can use you for their own well-being. So they're going to push you down. It's kind of malicious, but it does happen. I mean, people do this to other people. You see it in, gosh, I got junior hires and high schoolers right now, and you actually see it because they don't try and hide it or mask it. They just do it in the halls of school, right? Push other people down so that they can stand on top of them. That's one way, because that causes you to drift. Your mind gets distracted. You get hyper-focused on the situation. You're like, why is somebody treating me like this? This isn't who I am. I want to be truly known, all that kind of stuff. That's what I see my kids go through. But then there's this other thing, and it's just the advertising around us, right? It's truly good, solid companies that have good advertising are masters at shaping our realities, right? And masters of that perception and causing us to think, well, I want this, I need this, this is what I need for comfortable, I need comfort, this is the amenity that I want or need. And that puts us in a place where we find ourselves drifting. Because ultimately, like you and I are going to argue, you got to get out and do some of these things. Like golfing can be a wonderful distraction from the norm where you get clear and you think, and it can be a very positive thing. But if you're golfing 3, 4, 5 times a week, the question is what are you trading for that time? Because golf takes time, right? So you can love it, but what is the opportunity cost? And at times of your life where you have that open space, then it's perfect. At other times in your life, when you are choosing to go golfing, and listen to this, when you're choosing to go golfing because it's more comfortable to be on the golf course than it is to be at home, you gotta ask yourself, am I drifting?
Right. That's a great question. And I think even back to the comfort thing as well, just to go back to that, because we all are wrestling with embracing comfort. And I think there is a lot to be said in understanding that and identifying where we are in that to help us understand where we are in the drift. But I think there was this visual, and I'll just wrap it up quickly. There was this visual that was given to me. If you envision this entire table, Joel, was stacked with quarters. Like we just piled quarters high on this table. And every single quarter would represent all of the different comforts, all of the different good things that we have in our Western 21st century modern world. Okay. A lot of us live in that like 1%. So the comforts that we have. And yet we have all of these. And yet if I just drop one red quarter on top, one red quarter. And the one red quarter represents the one thing that marketing, the one thing that the beauties of marketing has positioned my mind to want and desire and crave. What are our minds going to think about? We're going to think about the one red quarter. We're going to be completely clueless to identify and even acknowledging all of the things that we have and the things that we are so grateful that we have all of these comforts. And yet we just know that there's always that one red quarter, maybe multiple quarters, but there's always that one red quarter. And I think that red quarter can inhibit us from really identifying and resurfacing to saying, okay, where is the drift right now?
Yes, but if you will pick your head up out of the water, just like you're saying, you know, and or take your focus off the red quarter as you illustrated it, right? That in and of itself shows you where your mind's at. That in and of itself shows you that you're drifting, right? Because I mean, when I think about seasons of life, you know, I mean, there are these seasons of life you go through and you're like, I would really like that, you know, like I've been paying attention to this car, you know, or truck, and you notice as you're driving down the road, you're like, oh, that's a sweet Toyota Tundra. I got to get myself a Toyota Tundra. It's all you see, right? You know,
every car,
like, and it becomes that red quarter or whatever it is. I mean, are you conditioned through advertising? Is it just a comfort or a desire or whatever it is? But I can tell you that in these moments, as we have launched into this journey in the last few months, it's a culmination, you know, this re-entry of this between you and I after 10 years of talking about this, and now stepping into it. I'll tell you what, I'm not looking at anymore. I'm not driving down the road thinking about Toyota Tundras. I'm not driving down the road thinking I got to do this or I got to do that or this would really bring me joy or comfort or something like that. I am literally driving down the road thinking, how can I get men untamed? Like, how can we build this out in a way that invites men to join us on this journey? Where are those untamed few? Because there's not going to be many, Mark, right? We're going to talk about this again and again and again. Most of the people that are going to be hearing this today, they're going to hear it and they're going to file it away. And our prayer would be is that sometime in the next months and years, they remember and they revisit and they start going through that process of saying, I'm tamed, like acknowledging that, because we're not talking to people. We're not saying and pointing out to people, you're tamed and Mark and I aren't tamed. No, we're acknowledging that there is a current in life. We're acknowledging that every one of us has been tamed in some way. We are asking the question, who were you before the world told you who you're supposed to be? Right? That's what we're doing, because we acknowledge there is current, and we want to be people who fight the current. We want to be the few that find the few that fight the current together.
That's exactly right.
That is untaming.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly right.
Got it.
And that's powerful, and that gets us fired up to be at this exact point, to invite men into this. The few men that want that challenge, know they need that challenge to be awakened and to truly lift their head up and say, okay, does my family trust me in the leadership that I have right now, in where I'm leading with purpose?
Clarity, do you know where you're going? If you're leading your family, where are you taking us, right?
And they all are on board with that. Yeah. And it's like you said before we even started the podcast, a great leader communicates the message and the X where we're going. Yeah. But then there's constant reminders along the way. Yep. And there's course corrections and recalibrations along the way, because we're not just going to lift our head up once and resurface and then put our head back down and have a perfect path to get to the destination. No. It's going to be a constant reevaluation and an awareness. And that's why it's so important for us to say, in the few of this tribe, we're going to do it together. Yeah. We are engaging and inviting the few into this conversation, into this journey with us. Yeah. We don't have it all figured out, but we're inviting them into the process of saying, the few, let's do this together. Yeah. No doubt. Let's be untamed together. Yeah. The way that you truly want to be. If you were to map out, this is who I want to be as a man. These are the dreams that I have. Yeah. These are the desires that I have. Yeah. This is the purpose and the legacy that I want in my life. Yeah. This is a process of us gaining crystallized clarity one day at a time. Yep. One step at a time. Yep. A part of the process, we do this together, and we invite you in, whether it's a comment or a DM, engage with us. Yeah. We are not doing this to do this on a patio here in Georgia, you and I together, and the beauty of all that's around of us.
And the meal last night was great too.
With Q and the technology and the production and all of that. Yeah. This is not about that. Yeah. This is about, we were not created to do life alone. We are inviting the few in this with us, in this journey with us, to say, come on, let's do this together. So if these guys want clarity, like you're talking about, they know what's out there, they want to stop folks, they want to stop drifting, they can join us. But we understand there's not going to be a ton of people, but those that do, they're going to come on in this journey, and we're going to continue to talk about 5 untamings. Right? We are going to continue to talk about how we are tamed and what it looks like to be tamed, what it looks like to be drifting, and then what we do about it. So there'll be some podcasts about that upcoming. We look forward to taking the journey with whoever's going to come with us. We look forward to the adventures, the literal adventures, and also the tools that we'll be able to give people to have their own adventures and walk through a process, because we believe that adventure illuminates, right? Just like you just told that story. I'll tell you what, everybody had a different perspective after they came up out of that water. And everybody was talking about it. Everybody was thinking about what went right, what went wrong. When we go through an adventure, when we create a new story, we all go through these different stages that really open our hearts up to thinking about life differently, especially when it's something that we have to learn or makes us just a little bit uncomfortable, like you were saying. Yeah. So we're going to have those adventures for people. I'm looking forward to planning those, doing those things, but ultimately they can start that journey by just becoming one of the untamed few, by joining us in this podcast, starting to walk through the 5 untamings together. And it's an exciting moment for us. And I know we're just so thrilled to see where the Lord takes us on this journey. Yeah, I can't wait. The last thing I would just say is that no matter where you are listening to this conversation right now, no matter what's been done to you in your life. Yeah. I want everybody to know, you want everybody to know that there is a beautiful plan for your life that is so untamed. Yeah. It is so beautiful in the way you have purpose, you have courage. And what are we calling it? We're calling it
path of purpose.
the path of purpose.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of guys in the few that truly are at a place that they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They're stuck where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, for me, it was pride.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there was some shame in that.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be that truly is preventing you from taking that next step,
Mm-hmm.
I just would encourage men to take that next step with us, to begin the dialogue with us, to begin the journey with us.
Yep.
And I promise you,
Yep.
you will not regret the decision that you make today.
Yeah.
Decision you make tonight, whenever you hear this conversation.
Yep.
You will not regret taking that first step.
Yep.
It will be a step that will forever change your family, change your marriage if you're married,
Yep.
change you as
True.
a dad, change you in the marketplace.
Yeah.
These are the crossroads in life.
True.
These are the steps
Mm-hmm.
that I promise you, as you and I have made these steps together,
Yep.
and we're now making these steps together
Yeah.
as one beautiful tribe, the few,
Got it.
you and I with men together.
Yep.
I cannot wait for these men
It's
to
exciting.
experience the breakthrough and the power
Yeah, no doubt.
that happens when they get untamed.
That's right. Well, so we've got a Facebook group. You guys can join us there. Simple little steps. You can subscribe on YouTube. We've got a podcast out, so you can follow the podcast. And those are the easy steps you can take now. And then we're going to be able to share all the other stuff that they can get involved with, the tools that they can begin to use, and the way that they can even go as far as get coaching from you or I, or go through our Untamed coaching program and really begin that to experience that untamed, true essence, life, the untamed man who is clear, courageous, and on their path of purpose.
Let's go.
Yeah. All right, let's
get
go.
untamed.